Clearly, given the acuity of care and the cognitive labor provided, this note should qualify for Level 3 H&P using the 1995 E&M guidelines, but it doesn't. This is due to a little-known technicality in the 1995 E&M rules. Remember, for these encounters, all three key components are needed. That is, we need a comprehensive history, a comprehensive physical exam, and high-complexity medical decision-making in order to qualify for Level 3 initial hospital care visit. Unfortunately, in this case, we have catastrophic key component failure in the form of a fatally flawed physical exam. From a reimbursement standpoint, this decreases the documented level of care from a Level 3 to a Level 1 H&P and costs the provider almost $100 in lost revenue, which amounts to a decrease in reimbursement of almost 50%. I've talked about this documentation error in the past, but recently I did an on-site for a large medical group where 70% of their admission H&Ps were downcoded from a Level 3 to a Level 1 due to this common mistake, so I felt like I should bring it up again and make sure all doctors get the message loud and clear. So how did this happen? First, let's look at the key components which do qualify, and then we'll talk about the mistake made documenting the physical exam. I always like to look at the medical decision-making first to get an idea of the medical necessity of the encounter. Here we looked at the EKG, we looked at the chest x-ray, and also ordered and reviewed labs. We also have multiple high-risk problems, which means this definitely adds up to high-complexity medical decision-making. So in this case, the key component of medical decision-making is definitely covered for a Level 3 admission H&P. Next, looking at the history. The problems being addressed are of high severity, which means a high-intensity history would indeed be justified by the medical necessity of the encounter. Looking at the documentation provided, it's clear we have 4 HPI elements, which means we do have an extended HPI. Also, at least one item from all three components of past medical, family, and social history have been recorded. Next, at least 10 systems have been reviewed using the accepted shortcut, all other systems reviewed and are negative. True, in some states covered by the Trailblazer Medicare carrier, this shortcut is no longer valid. But for this example, let's assume the encounter takes place in a state that does allow this shorthand, which means we do have all the elements needed to qualify for a comprehensive history. So remember, for these encounters, 3 out of 3 key components are needed. Now we know the key components of medical decision-making and history do both support a Level 3 H&P. Now it's time to find out where everything went horribly wrong, documenting the physical exam. This is going to make a lot of doctors very angry, but the fact is, this exam fails not because of a clinical lapse, but because of a simple format error. Remember, the 1995 exam is based on organ systems and body areas. But when it comes to the comprehensive exam, a little-known rule states that 8 to 12 organ systems are needed, not body areas. Who knows why this bizarre physical exam hiccup made its way into the final rules? I think it was probably just a typo, but the fact is that auditors only count organ systems and not body areas when counting up the elements for a comprehensive exam using the 1995 E&M guidelines. In this case, we have 7 organ systems clearly documented, but then the doctor had the temerity to examine the neck instead of an 8th organ system. This means that no matter what, this exam can never qualify as a comprehensive exam using the 95 rules. Instead, all we would get credit for would be a detailed exam. Looking at the documentation grid for admission H&Ps, now we know we have a comprehensive history and high-complexity medical decision-making, but we only have a detailed exam. And since all 3 key components are needed, this means we can only qualify for Level 1 H&P. And that's how you lose $100 if you like to perform the physical exam the way you were taught in medical school as opposed to the way the exam happens to be formatted in the 1995 guidelines. I know a lot of doctors like to use the 95 exam rules because they seem to be less rigid and arbitrary than the 97 rules. But this example clearly shows that this could be a trap because the 95 comprehensive exam is indeed rigid and arbitrary as well. So remember, if you're going to go for the 1995 comprehensive exam, forget about the body areas and use only the organ systems. Thank you.